Before you succeed, you must survive these 4 stages. Take a second and think about the last time you felt completely lost. Not just confused about a decision. Truly, deeply lost. Like you were working hard, trying everything, giving everything you had, and nothing was moving. Nothing was responding. The world just kept going like you weren't even there. If you've ever felt that way, I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes. Because what I'm about to tell you is not another motivational speech full of empty energy. This is something nobody talks about honestly. Something most successful people won't admit. Something that, once you understand it, will completely change the way you see where you are right now. Success has stages. Not one straight line from struggle to victory. Not a clean journey from broke to blessed. Stages. Real, ugly, painful, invisible stages that every single person who has ever built something meaningful has had to walk through alone, in silence, with no applause and no guarantee. And if you are in one of those stages right now and you don't know it, you will quit. You will walk away from the exact path that was about to change your life. Not because you weren't good enough, but because nobody told you what the road actually looks like from the inside. So today, we're going to talk about it. All of it. Honestly, the first stage is the confusion stage. The confusion stage does not mean you are stupid. It does not mean you chose the wrong path. It does not mean you should have listened to the people who told you to be more realistic. The confusion stage simply means one thing: you were brave enough to start. Think about it this way. You cannot get lost if you are standing still. Confusion is the tax you pay for movement. It is the price of actually trying. But here is what the confusion stage feels like from the inside. You wake up with an idea that burns in your chest. You feel it so clearly in your mind who you want to be, what you want to build, what your life is supposed to look like. And then you sit down to actually do it. And the fire meets reality. And suddenly nothing is as clear as it felt at 2 a.m. when you were dreaming about it. You start a business and don't know where the customers is coming from. You launch a channel and don't know why nobody is watching. You begin building a skill and realize how far you are from where you need to be. You try one approach and it fails. You try another and it goes nowhere. You read books, watch videos, take courses, listen to podcasts, and you still feel like you're assembling furniture with half the pieces missing and no instructions. And the worst part about the confusion stage is not the confusion itself. The worst part is the voice inside your head that uses the confusion against you. That voice that says maybe this is a sign. Maybe this means it's not for you. Maybe the people who doubted you were right all along. That voice is lying to you. Every entrepreneur who built something that matters went through the confusion stage. Every artist who created work that moved people spent years not knowing if any of it was working. Every athlete who made it to the top had seasons where they couldn't figure out why their body wasn't responding the way they needed it to. The confusion stage is not a detour. It is the beginning of the road itself. Most people never start because they are waiting to feel ready. You already passed them. You are confused because you are in motion. And motion, no matter how messy, is where everything begins. The second stage is the invisible stage. And this one is quieter than the confusion stage. In some ways, it is harder. Because in the confusion stage, you are at least dealing with noise. In the invisible stage, you are dealing with silence. You figured out your direction. You found your footing. You started doing the work, real work, consistent work, showing up every single day. And nothing happened. Not failure. Not success. Just silence. Just nothing. You post the content and the numbers don't move. You build the product and nobody buys. You walk into the room and nobody turns around. You send the email and never hear back. You put the work out into the world, and the world continues rotating as if you did nothing at all. This is the invisible stage. And it is the most dangerous stage not because of what it does to you externally, but because of what it whispers to you internally. It whispers that maybe you were never meant to be seen. That maybe you are building something that simply doesn't matter. That maybe the effort you are pouring into this is disappearing into a hole that will never give anything back. The third stage is the rejection stage. You survived the silence. The world finally sees you. And it says no. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Because after everything you went through in the confusion stage and the invisible stage, after all that effort, all that patience, all that quiet grinding, the first real response you get from the world is rejection. That is one of the most brutal things a human being can experience. Because it doesn't just sting. It confirms every fear you were carrying alone during all those invisible months. The investor looks at what you built and passes. The label listens to your music and thanks you for your time. The publisher reads your work and sends a form letter. The employer reviews your resume and goes with someone else. The audience finally finds you and leaves. The people you respected most look at what you created and are not moved. And rejection doesn't come quietly. It comes with an audience. Because the moment you are visible enough to be rejected, you are visible enough to be judged. And everyone has something to say. The people who never tried anything have the loudest opinions about why your attempt fell short. The ones who sat on the sideline while you were grinding in silence are suddenly experts in why you aren't good enough. Not talented enough. Not polished enough. Not connected enough. Not from the right background. Not the right face for it. Not the right time. Not the right version. And here is the part that hurts most. Sometimes the rejection will tell you something true. Not about who you are as a person, but about the gap between who you are right now and who you need to become. And learning to hear that truth inside the cruelty of rejection without letting the cruelty break you is one of the hardest things you will ever have to do. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't make the roster. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job and told directly that she was unfit for television. Walt Disney was rejected by over 300 investors before Disneyland was built, and a newspaper editor once fired him because he supposedly lacked imagination. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 different publishers before one finally said yes. It is easier to change your habits than to change the people around you. It is easier to wake up earlier than to walk away from friendships that are pulling you backward. It is easier to read better books than to leave the conversations that have been keeping your mind small. But your circle is not just the people you spend time with. Your circle is the average of every voice you allow access to your mind. It is the content you consume, the conversations you participate in, the rooms you choose to enter, the energy you allow to sit beside you day after day. And success does not care about talent. I need you to hear that clearly. The most talented person in your school is not necessarily the most successful person from your school. The most gifted person in your industry is not automatically the one who builds the most meaningful career. Talent without reinvention has an expiration date. It peaks early and coasts on what it already has. But the person who reinvents, who is willing to break down their own identity and rebuild it in alignment with where they are going, that person compounds. Every year, they become more capable, more dangerous, more equipped. Because success does not go to the most talented. It goes to the most adaptable. It goes to the person who can look at themselves without flinching and say, I need to change. Not my circumstances first. Me first. The person you are today cannot carry the life you are dreaming of. That is not an insult. That is an invitation. The life you want requires a version of you that does not fully exist yet. And the only way to meet that version of yourself is to stop protecting the current one. So let me ask you something before this video ends. Which stage are you in right now? Are you in the confusion stage, doing everything you can and still not finding your footing? Are you in the invisible stage, showing up every day in complete silence with no evidence yet that it is working? Are you in the rejection stage, carrying wounds from doors that closed and voices that said you weren't enough? Or are you standing at the edge of reinvention, feeling the terrifying pull of becoming someone you've never been before? Whatever your answer is, write it in the comments right now. Not because it will go anywhere, but because naming where you are is the first act of taking ownership of where you are going. And you will be surprised how many people are in the exact same stage, feeling the exact same way, thinking they are completely alone. You Arab, not alone, and you are not behind. You are in the process. The same process that every person who ever built something real had to walk through quietly, imperfectly, without a map. The confusion will give way to clarity. The invisibility will give way to recognition. The rejection will give way to direction. And the reinvention, the painful, necessary, liberating reinvention, will give way to the version of you that was always waiting on the other side of your willingness to change. Don't rush it. Don't compare it. Don't you dare quit in the middle of it. Because somewhere on the other side of the stage you are standing in right now, there's a life that only exists if you keep going. Keep going.